Dear Diary, in mid-2021, Walther released its new PDP, Performance Defense Pistol, in 3 sizes, 4-inch, 4.5-inch, and 5-inch barrels, and also announced that they would be discontinuing the PPQ, the Police Pistol Quick Defense, and offering the PDP pistols as a replacement. This new line builds on the successes of the PPQ line and the Q4, Q5 series. I have reviewed the Walther PDP Compact and have provided a link in the description section should you be interested. Unfortunately, a 40 Smith & Wesson 45 ACP or 10mm version is not among the PDP lineup. At least at the time of this review, only 9mm versions are available. The PDP line of pistols is strong competition for the very many excellent makes and models of 9mm pistols available in the market today. With that said, the PPQ models had a following. It is sad to see them discontinued. Maybe this might be an opportune time to buy a PPQ M2 45 ACP at a lower price, if you can find them. If you are interested in the PPQ M2 and 45 ACP, stay tuned, because I'm going to tell you all about one that is worthy of entry in the Range Ronin Chronicles. Before I get started, I extend my appreciation to my son-in-law for providing this particular example for review, without which a review would not be possible. Ammunition to fire through it, however, is on me to provide. So, take a look at the specifications first before I dig into the features and other areas of interest. Specifications never tell the whole story. They are just a glimpse, a quick passing over of a firearm. It is reviewers like myself and others that really inform you of a firearm's characteristics, performance, and other areas of interest that just might pique your interest in owning and operating a particular firearm. I'll start off by saying that the Walther PPQ M2 and 45 ACP chambering is a full adult pistol, and there is nothing small about it. The Walther PPQ is large, even by service pistol dimensions. At 7.4 inches long, 5.8 inches tall, and 1.3 inches wide, PPQ fills an average adult hand, and then some. With a full complement of 12 rounds, pistol weighs in at 2 pounds, 5.4 ounces. If the extended magazine is inserted, bring that weight up to 2 pounds, 6.9 ounces. The Walther PPQ Police Pistol Quick Defense 45 M2 was the company's first effort in a 45 ACP pistol, and it was a very good one. The pistol ships in a hard case with one standard and one larger interchangeable backstrap, along with pertinent publications. A right side magazine catch and release button, 2 magazines, a magazine base plate that I'll talk about later, and a chamber flag. A shooting target for the pistol is also provided that shows how the pistol shot at a specific distance. The Walther PPQ M2 sports adjustable sights, a polygonal rifled barrel, tenifer finish, and is fully ambidextrous. but I'll talk more about those in a bit. First, an overall look at the pistol. Highly sculptured comes to mind when I look at the pistol. From the tip of the slide to the bottom of the grip, there is nothing plain Jane about this pistol. PPQ has a flair about it in more ways than one. The nicely formed front portion of the slide is mildly serrated, while the left side sports the Walther logo amidst the serrations. While not cut deep, the serrations on the right side are adequate for grabbing. The front sight, a single white dot unit, is press-fit into the slide at the bottom and can be replaced with a tool adequate to do so. It takes a 1.3 mm Allen wrench to loosen a screw and then push the front sight out of the slide. The ejection port is widely cut on both sides and is, in itself, highly sculptured, but it does its job well of providing an opening to rid the pistol of those pesky spent cartridge cases. Centered below the ejection port on the left side, PPQ 45 in bold letters remind you of what pistol you are firing. To the rear of the ejection port on the right side is a long external extractor that serves as a chamber-loaded indicator. When a cartridge is chambered, the rear of the extractor is pushed inward and reveals a bit of red that indicates, indeed, a round is chambered. This indicator is visual only, and no tactile means is available. The serial number of the pistol is marked just below the ejection port and also on the chamber of the barrel. There are also other markings that mean something to somebody, but not to me. And if you need something to read while you are aiming the pistol, serial number is also on the slide end cap. The tenifer treatment of the slide is well done and even throughout. The slide has a satin look to it, and the top of the slide is serrated to cut glare. The rear sight is a 2-dot unit with adjustment for windage, but is also drift adjustable for removal if need be. The rear sight is squared off at the front and could be used as an emergency racking point, I suppose. Weighing in at 1 pound 3.5 ounces fully stocked with barrel and captivated recoil spring and guide rod, it is obvious where most of the pistol's empty weight comes from. The 4.25-inch barrel, also tenifer treated, is polygonal rifled and internally is highly polished to a mirror finish. Of course, like Glock polygonal barrels, the use of soft lead projectiles is not advised due to leading issues. Only hard cast or jacketed will do. Thank you. Looking from the rear of the pistol, as with aiming, one can see that the slide has a high profile, which means a high bore axis. Will this affect muzzle flip? I don't know, but I intend to find out at the range. The frame is where the majority of sculpturing and blending takes place. The frame, without magazine, is only 6.2 ounces in weight. A 4-point accessory rail adorns the front of the frame, but is not grotesque in its appearance. The outside of the takedown latch assembly has enough real estate and texture to ease the pain somewhat when trying to disassemble the pistol. There is a very strong spring in place, and that means it does take some effort to pull the takedown latch down from both sides to release the slide. When new, this assembly feels very gritty. Some applied light machine oil in all the crevices seemed to help a bit, but not much. Internally, the frame is reminiscent of many polymer pistols, with its locking block and trigger assembly. This one is special, which I'll get to shortly. The slide lock lever is long and ambidextrous, which means that it can be reached and activated easily from both sides of the pistol. The slide lock lever is blended well into the side of the frame. The magazine release is round, textured, fairly large, and can be set up for left-handed shooters, but it takes a button swap to do so. Each button is marked, L for mounting on the left side and R for mounting on the right side. Fancy that! Swapping out the button will take some common tools, and instructions for swapping out the magazine release buttons is in the safety and instruction manual. While the frame is polymer, metal slide guides are used and they are not full length, only taking up a small part of real estate. The frame area around the magazine release button is relieved to provide a nice pass for the trigger finger or thumb. The trigger guard is very wide, undercut, and has a squared-off serrated front for resting a support hand finger should you choose to do so. The trigger guard, of course, protects the trigger, as well it should, as the PPQ M2 45 has a very fine trigger. The trigger is wide, rounded, serrated, and formed nicely to accommodate the trigger finger. As with many striker-fired pistols these days, a centered and internal trigger safety keeps the trigger from entering the frame unless it is fully pressed. Trigger weight on this example is 2 pounds and 5.1 ounces with a 5-pull average. Trigger reach is roughly 3 1/4 inches with a grip adapter that was on the pistol. Trigger pull distance is only 0.4 inch, with only a short bit of take-up before resistance is felt. The trip point is nearly to the rear of the trigger housing, and reset is just in front of the trip point. Aside from the PDP trigger, this is one of the nicest triggers I have had the pleasure to pull. The grip area of the PPQ is very textured, but I feel that the texturing could have been a bit more where the hand meets the polymer. Don't get me wrong, the grip feels excellent in the hand. It is contoured, for me, in all the right places. The angle of the grip I like, as I do the arch of the backstrap, as the arch hits my hand pretty close to my sweet spot. The beaver tail allows me to tuck my hand up as close to the slide as possible. Could use a bit more aggressive texture though. Both the front and rear strap are textured, as is the palm area, but I could actually use a tad more texturing to help grip the pistol. Did I say that I could use more texturing on the grip? The grip girth, to me, feels small, even with the thickest grip adapter installed, which really does not affect the trigger reach. It just adds more front to rear dimension. Personally, I could use more side-to-side thickness. No snide comments, please. The grip adapter is blended very well into the grip and is locked into place by a pin at the bottom of the grip. The grip adapter, while not changing the trigger reach, does change the thickness of the backstrap, and therefore the front to rear thickness of the grip. The grip's length is near perfect for my hand. My little finger rests nicely just above the flare at the bottom of the grip. 2 magazines are provided with the pistol, plus a flush-fitting base plate. One 12-round magazine with a flush-fitting base plate is provided. An additional magazine with a +2 extension is also provided, which brings the round count up to 14 rounds. The 14-round magazine has a removable extension for magazine maintenance, or, if you wish, and I don't know why, to replace the extension with a provided flush base plate that would reduce the round count to 12 rounds. In my line of thinking, I would rather try to find another magazine with the extension, so that I would have 2 spare 14-round magazines. That's just my line of thought. And finally, the PPQ M2 45 will fire with the magazine removed and a live round chambered, as the pistol is not equipped with a magazine disconnect feature. Well, I think that I have touched on the features enough to warrant moving on to the next segment, maintenance, of which you may find useful. Normally, and if the firearm under review is a common firearm, like a Glock, where disassembly and assembly is well documented, and this information is readily available on the World Wide Web, I simply steer the viewer to the manual. The exception to that is when the firearm may not be common, or I find a mistake in the manual that needs to be pointed out. Such is the case with the Walther PPQ 45. Let's start with a basic safety check first. Point the pistol in a safe direction. Make sure your fingers are off the trigger and out of the trigger guard. Press the magazine release and remove the magazine. With the muzzle pointed in a safe direction and with fingers off of the trigger and outside of the trigger guard, grab the slide serrations of the slide with the thumb and fingers, and briskly push or pull the slide fully to the rear and lock it into place with the slide lock lever to extract any cartridge from the barrel's chamber and to clear it from the pistol. Ensure that no live ammunition is in the general vicinity. Now, let me get to the page in the manual that explains disassembly. That is on page 23. Hold on, I'm getting there. Takes me a bit to flip to the correct page. By the way, you really should read the manual for your firearm. Granted that a lot of information is standard, but there is information specific to the firearm that needs to be known. Alright, here we are, page 23. Note that after clearing the pistol, closing the slide, and pointing the pistol in a safe direction, you are directed to squeeze the trigger fully to the rear. Then, grip the takedown catch from above on both sides and pull downward. An illustration is even provided. This step, however, is incorrect. You need to first grip the pistol with one hand and move the slide slightly to the rear. This takes tension off of the takedown catch. If you don't move the slide slightly to the rear, it is nearly impossible to move this takedown catch downward, providing you with a WTF moment. So, with the slide slightly to the rear, move the takedown catch down. Release pressure on the slide, and when the slide passes over the takedown catch, release the takedown catch and then move the slide forward, and remove it from the frame. The captivated recoil spring and guide rod will almost fall out from the slide if you hold the slide with the open side down. I would advise to position the pistol upside down to prevent the captivated recoil spring and guide rod from just falling out and possibly rolling across the floor to the Bermuda Triangle in your basement or workshop. Once the captivated recoil spring and guide rod is removed, remove the barrel toward the rear of the slide. Once the firearm has been thoroughly cleaned, follow the directions on page 26 of the manual. It's time to lubricate the pistol. Use the guidelines found on page 27 and the illustration shown on page 28 for proper lubrication. Now you can move on to assembling the PPQ, which is pretty straightforward. Place the barrel into the slide. Insert the captivated recoil spring and guide rod. The blue end should face the rear of the pistol and will be a loose fit. Assemble the slide and frame, ensuring that the slide is pushed or pulled fully to the rear and returns to battery. Perform a function check by first attempting to pull the trigger without pressing the trigger safety. The trigger should not move into the frame and the striker should not release. Then, press the trigger while also pressing the trigger safety. The trigger moves into the frame and the striker is released. One last check is to move the slide to the rear, locking it into place with the slide stop lever. Inspect the firing pin hole to ensure that the firing pin is not protruding. If the firing pin is protruding, do not attempt to fire the pistol. Seek professional help, as the firearm is unsafe. Okay, with all that out of the way, and now that you are well informed regarding maintenance, it's time for some range fun. So let's get on with it. Having shot the Walther PPQ Compact in 9mm, I somewhat knew what to expect from the PPQ M2, although I would not have the Holosun 507C to guide my eyes to the target, as with the PDP. Somehow, I would endeavor to persevere with a stock 3-dot sight arrangement. Today, I would be running some Federal 230 grain FMJ, trying out a few Federal 230 grain high shock jacketed hollow points, the latter of which I have come to accept as pretty good self-defense ammunition. So, without further ado, let me get to the shooting part. I would be pretty safe in saying that the Walther PPQ M2 45 or any PDP full-size pistol would be difficult to conceal effectively. But having carried and concealed a Glock G21 and G41, anything is possible. While I don't have a holster for the PPQ M2 45, since it is a loaner, I did search possibilities for a suitable holster, and there are actually quite a few to choose from. So, I will simply say to do your own research to find a holster that will fit your needs, IWB or OWB. And that's all I have to say about that. There is no doubt that the PPQ M2 45 is a full-fledged, full-size, hand-filling handgun. As I mentioned in the opener, the Walther PPQ M2 45 has been discontinued. Although the PDP line has replaced the PPQ line, a 40 Smith & Wesson, a 45 ACP, or a 10mm version has not been yet released. But for us lovers of those calibers, we may have to hold our breaths for a while. My interest would be how Walther could improve on the trigger of the PPQ with the PDP's performance duty trigger, if it actually can. For a personal or home defense firearm, I put the Walther PPQ M2 45 high on the list of desirable pistols. Although the PPQ that I am reviewing does not have RMR capabilities, a good flashlight or laser combination mounted on the accessory rail would make for a good home defense option. I am not a fan of all the fanciful sculpturing of the pistol, but Walther did it in good taste, and all controls are well blended into one highly structural unit that could be relied on should the need arise to do so. All in all, the Walther PPQ M2 45 gets a high mark from me. Unfortunately, and like the Walther PDP Compact that I reviewed, it must go back to its rightful owner. So sad. Well, my friends, here I am again, at the end of another Range Ronin Chronicle. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I hope that you will return for more of my reviews. Until we meet again, and I hope that we will, stay vigilant, stay armed, and stay safe out there.